Hello, I'm Melissa Cochraine, the Senior Wellbeing Development Officer at Pharmacist Support. In case this is your first time meeting us, Pharmacist Support is an independent charity, and we offer a wide variety of free and confidential support services to those working and studying in pharmacy. If you'd like to know more about the support available to you, please visit our website, pharmacistsupport.org. Today, we're going to be talking about stress and mental health and how self-care isn't selfish. In order to be in good physical and mental health, we need to look after ourselves, which can in turn make us more able to look after others. We will explore stress, the impacts of stress on our bodies and minds, and look at ways to improve our own well-being. This can then make us more ready to tackle the assessment, as all of these well-being practices can help you with your preparation and readiness. So why are self-care and well-being so important? We all have a threshold for stress. Sometimes this threshold is greater, maybe when things are generally going well in our lives and we're feeling good. Sometimes this threshold is much lower, perhaps when we're having family, financial, work-related, or health problems. There's only so much stress that we can manage without feeling the consequences, and without means of working through stress and anxiety, we may reach breaking point. So, as an image to help you understand the importance of managing stress, imagine that you have a 2-liter bottle of fizzy drink and you shake the bottle, and then you take the lid off really quickly. So, what will happen? The liquid will explode uncontrollably, covering you and probably everything around you. However, if you very gradually and gently turn the lid to release the built-up pressure slowly, you should be able to open the bottle without having an explosion all over yourself in the room. You can imagine this as a metaphor for stress. It can build and build inside you until you burst, at which point it can be difficult to deal with the aftermath. Or you can find ways to manage the stress and anxiety so that you don't reach your tipping point. So we're aiming to find a way of allowing our mind and body to get into a relaxed state. Self-care and well-being mean different things for different people, but that's basically what we're looking at today. Today, we'll be looking at relaxation and meditation. We'll be looking at sleep and relationships. We'll also be looking a little bit at how what you eat can impact your physical and brain health and how that can impact you as you're revising, as well as some visualization to help prepare you for the assessment day. There's ample research showing that each of these things contribute to our well-being, and what works for each of us will be different. So please take these ideas, tweak them, and make them your own. So according to the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, approximately 75% of all doctors' visits are somehow related to stress. Other researchers put the figure as high as 90%, and according to WebMD, the figure is 75 to 90%. So whatever the actual figure is, that statistic is staggering. The World Health Organization calls stress the health epidemic of the 21st century, and stress can contribute to issues such as headaches, high blood pressure, heart problems, diabetes, skin conditions, asthma, arthritis, depression, and anxiety. This is a major issue for pharmacists and healthcare professionals, both in their own lives and when caring for patients. And stress can drastically impact the quality of life for individuals. So, why don't you just take a minute now to review your lifestyle? I encourage you to take a few moments to have a think about how well you're doing at eating healthily, exercising enough, making screen-free time for friends and family, relaxing well, getting enough sleep. It's a good time now to pause the video, just take a moment, chat to your neighbors or break into groups and just talk about how well you think you're doing with your lifestyle at the moment. We will now look at relaxation and meditation and what they do biologically for the body and mind. We all need some downtime, but very often these days, we feel like we need to fill every minute with jobs or work of some sort. And when we're not doing that, we're often on our smartphones, scrolling down, reading the news, checking out social media. Whether we do these behaviors at work, at home, or on our days off and in our downtime, not having time for the body and mind to relax and go into a resting state can have detrimental effects on sleep, physical, and mental health. So let's look at why relaxation and meditation are important and how they have a role in health. Chronic stress has been shown to have the ability to reduce brain plasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change throughout life. It can reorganize itself by creating new connections between brain cells and enables us to learn new things and find new ways of understanding the world. This ability, however, can be impaired by chronic stress. Being in a chronically stressed state can lead to a cycle of stress responses, meaning that the brain will find it difficult to switch off from stress, and that minor stressors can set off a major stress cycle. The prefrontal cortex, or the brain's life manager, can become impaired, and the amygdala, or the brain's fear sensor, can increase in size. I find that fascinating that we can actually see structural changes in the brain with different parts sort of reducing and increasing in size. So this means that the prefrontal cortex, or the brain's life manager, can become less able to function, and the amygdala, or the brain's fear sensor, has a greater likelihood of being activated. You can see how this could impact your productivity and mood. Thankfully, relaxation and specific types of meditation, which we will look at shortly, have been shown to retrain the mind. For example, research has shown that mindfulness meditation increases activity in the life manager area whilst reducing reactivity in the fear sensing area. So I wanted to share a little bit more about the brain because I think this is really important. The amygdala is a small almond-shaped and very ancient part of the brain. It's involved with processing emotion and especially fear. The prefrontal cortex is best known for cognitive and emotional control. In the previous slide, I referred to the prefrontal cortex as the life manager. There are many analogies to help us understand the function of the prefrontal cortex, but my favorite is Dr. Frederick Oz' horse and rider analogy because it encompasses the role of the amygdala as well. The horse, representing the amygdala, can be spooked and run off, but it can be brought back under control by a good rider, the prefrontal cortex. You can see then why it's so significant if the prefrontal cortex becomes hijacked by what is essentially a spooked horse. In MRIs, they've looked at the brains of both phobic and non-phobic people when looking at images of snakes. And fascinatingly, in non-phobic people, you see the prefrontal cortex light up after the amygdala. And so we can see the prefrontal cortex in action, dampening down that fear response. And this is absent in the scans of phobic individuals. The top-down approach is, to put it simply, the most common approach for working with psychological problems, talk therapy. This involves engaging the thinking part of the brain, with the idea being that working with your thoughts and often subconscious judgments and reactions will create a change in how you respond. This would encompass cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and other talking therapies. Bottom-up strategies have to do with encouraging the brain and body's relaxation response and helping the body to release stored tension and trauma. These approaches can be very powerful and can have a positive effect on thinking, as when the body is relaxed, the mind can relax as well. Some people feel more comfortable with one type of approach and respond well to it, while others do well with a combination of both. Let's now look at some bottom-up approaches that can encourage the relaxation response. So imagine how you breathe when you're relaxing on a beach or somewhere else you find equally relaxing. We tend to breathe in and then breathe out for a really long time. So you imagine just this sort of, it's a really long kind of out breath. So this is kind of your body's breathing in a really relaxed state. And we can kind of hack it, if you will, and start breathing that way on purpose. And that can also tell our mind and our body, oh, everything's okay. So we tend to relax more. So we're going to try it now. So firstly, put your hand on your belly. And when you do this kind of breathing, you want to really fill your lungs, and you should feel as the air gets pulled down that the hand on your belly expands with the air going into the sort of bottom part of your lungs. Let's try it. So we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 2, and out for 6. So everybody breathe out, and then we're going to begin. And in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And last time, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This method can help to switch off the stress response and switch on the relaxation response. So why don't you pause the video for just a moment and have a quick chat with a neighbor or a group to discuss how you found that breathing. Did you feel anything from it? Okay, so now we're going to try another type of breathing. You might have heard of this one. It's called box breathing. And when you do box breathing, you kind of imagine a box in front of yourself, and each breath goes around one of the sort of outside lines of the box. So we're going to do it together, and you're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and hold for 4. So I will talk you through this. So everybody just take a breath in and out, and we'll start. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Okay, great. So that was box breathing. And now if you could pause again and just take a minute to talk about how that one affected you. People are all different. I get lots of people who prefer the box breathing. I get other people who prefer the exhale longer than the inhale. It's very individual. So it might be interesting to have another little chat about how that felt for you and which one you preferred. Now we'll move on to mindfulness. There are many people who you can look to for information about mindfulness, and the evidence about its effectiveness is growing and growing. A man called Jon Kabat-Zinn is one of my personal favorites for mindfulness meditation, and his body scan activities are available for download. He also has written several books about mindfulness meditation that are really good. I also like walking meditations. And if you sort of Google walking meditation, That's something else that you can learn about and try. That's great for people who are a bit more kinesthetic. It's kind of about going for a walk, but really being present in your body and noticing what you feel. Notice your senses all around you. What do you smell? What do you notice as you walk? So really being present in that moment of walking. And that's mindfulness too. And for some people, that's easier than just sort of sitting and focusing on the breath or doing a body scan. There are also several apps that help with meditation. Some popular ones to look for are Headspace, Calm, Oak, but there are lots and lots more. And it's really personal which ones work for whom. So it's worth trying out a few. And just a note, if you try it out and it doesn't work for you, that really doesn't mean necessarily that mindfulness isn't for you, or you just can't meditate. It's about trying to find one that does work for you. So keep trying, keep finding different ones, and eventually, hopefully, you'll find one where you think, oh yeah, I can do this, and just practice over time. And it can be really helpful to start small. So other things that help are as varied as the people around us. And this can include screen-free time while having a bath, reading for pleasure as opposed to reading for learning or another purpose, listening to music, playing music, cooking, gardening, painting, going for a walk. The list can go on and on. There's no one right way to engage the relaxation response, but it's important to find what uniquely helps you. And a note as to why I said screen-free time while doing these things. Having smartphones and devices with us when we're engaging in our relaxation activities can distract us from fully participating in the activity. Notifications can pull us out of the relaxation response. So having time without these digital distractions is important. But it's not just notifications. Merely having a smartphone in your line of vision can be a distraction. So when you do these things, put your smartphone somewhere where you can't even see it and your other screens, and just spend time doing what really uniquely relaxes you. So we're now going to shift a little bit to how our thoughts can impact our feelings. So there's a feedback loop of sorts between how we think and how we feel, and vice versa. Many times our thought patterns are established much earlier in life, and we're often unaware of our own patterns of thinking. If we can bring our assumptions out into the open so that we can see them and understand them, it can help us to notice the way that we're thinking and if it's particularly negative or unrealistic. And then we can learn to change these thoughts to be more realistic and more helpful. So our brains can have a negativity bias. And this was helpful in terms of survival throughout human history. Hundreds and thousands of years ago, we really needed to be attuned to what could go wrong, and in order to survive things like predator attacks and stuff. But it's really, our lives have changed so much now. And this negativity bias can mean that sometimes we miss out on the joy and spontaneity of life. So the ABC process is a cognitive behavioral therapy technique that can help us to see how our thoughts are impacting our feelings. You'll have a blank version of this in the pack you'll receive after the presentation that should help you to practice this process on your own. So let's go through this together. So we're looking at the activating event. So we're going to first do the down, because the down is when we're having an unrealistic or a negative emotion or behavior. And then the up is when we change it. So we're going to first do the left-hand side. So let's find an activating event. Let's think about revising for the assessment. So say you're revising and you just feel like nothing's going in. So your irrational belief about this might be, I will never pass the assessment. I'm just not cut out for this. And then negative emotion or behavior that would follow would be sort of feeling defeated, feeling demotivated to revise, maybe just deciding to go to bed or watch a film instead, or whatever it may be. So let's try to change that. So we still have the same activating event, which is that your revision, you don't feel your revision is going very well. So a more rational belief around that might be, okay, I've come this far. I know I can manage this. Maybe I need to look at what's going on in my life that's preventing me from revising and remembering things in the way that I need to. And then your more healthy emotion or behavior might be to feel motivated to make some changes. So you might need to then look at your sleep, or when you're revising, you might want to make sure that you build it into your daytime a little more if you can, instead of your evening. If you're tired at night, you might try playing with your schedule a bit. So having a more rational belief about what's going on can lead to you having healthier emotions about it and being able to do behaviors that could help you to problem solve. So the next piece about getting ready for the assessment is to start early. So when you're preparing for the assessment or exams, it's crucial that you begin your preparations well before the exam. Revising early so that you don't have to stay up late cramming before the exam is really important. It will prevent the need to stay up late and sacrifice sleep for revision. Sleep is really important for retaining the information you're learning, so managing your time well can help you to be able to get adequate sleep. If you haven't already, you may want to check out our sleep video, which explores sleep in more detail. For now, it's good just to know that sleep helps us to move information into more efficient areas of the brain, making it easier to access information when we need it. Starting early can help you to feel prepared and in control, and more able to continue taking care of your well-being. Having the time to eat well, exercise, maintain your relationships, and sleep well can all contribute to your overall well-being and ultimately to your ability to perform well on the assessment. In the Wellbeing Hub on our website, you'll find several time management tools that can help. We've got a revision planner and a well-being planner. Please have a look and print these off if you think they may help you. I'll include a link at the end to the Wardley Wellbeing Hub. So the other side of preparedness is that it really helps to know as much about where your assessment or exam will take place as possible. You may want to travel there ahead of time so that you know the route, so that you can check on travel timings and know where to park or how to get to the venue from the station if you take a train, for example. It can be helpful to be able to visualize where you'll be on the day, what the room is like, and logistical things like that. The brain likes certainty, and that can help to prevent some anxiety if you know more about what will be happening on the day. So again, that can help you to feel more in control and relaxed. If you need to, you may like to book accommodation for the night before so that you can stay near the assessment location and reduce some stress on the day. You may also like to have a bag packed ready to bring with you into the assessment, get that ready the night before. So just sort of the more that you can do ahead of time, the better you may feel when it comes time for the assessment. So according to Dr. Tara Swart, a neuroscientist and psychiatrist, simply imagining something can deliver the physical and mental benefits of the action you desire. Elite athletes have used visualization for a long time. Think of the gymnast going through every detail of her routine before competing, or the golfer who imagines every stroke they're going to take in their next tournament. Mental practice serves a purpose, helping our brains to go through the motions of what we want to do, creating an image of doing well. This sort of works in the same way the actual practice does. So fascinatingly, it can even lead to changes in muscle and performance if it's used in the context of exercise. Visualization techniques can be useful for students and trainees preparing for the assessment too. So, using the assessment as an example, if you focus on images of yourself feeling calm and competent in the assessment, this can help you to mentally practice and take the steps necessary in order to actually get you there. When you do visualize, make sure you imagine things in as much detail as possible. Try to imagine yourself sitting in the venue. Imagine yourself tackling a difficult question, that you remain calm and are able to find the information to answer, and that you remain in control. Dr. Tara Swart discusses why many successful people continue using these techniques. She says, when you imagine your success, you'll be more attuned to opportunities that can help to get you there. You'll be able to anticipate and plan for setbacks, and you'll also have a constant reminder of why you chose to pursue those goals in the first place. As I've mentioned before, there's a connection between the body and mind, and I'm sure you've heard of the mind-body connection. And part of being ready to tackle a difficult task, like preparing for the assessment, is giving ourselves nourishing food that feeds our brains and our bodies in the way that we need them to be fed. But of course, there's more to eating well than just eating our greens. There's the social aspect of food and eating, which is very important as we tend to connect with others over a meal. There's lots of research also about the effects of sugar and sweeteners on the body. So if this is of interest to you, it might be worth doing some research about that. The time that we eat can be significant too. There's lots of research being done about this. And if you're interested, you could check out the work of Dr. Sachin Panda, who finds that our bodies need a bit of a break from food. So if you can go several hours without food from your evening meal until your morning meal, that can be beneficial. And of course, drinking water. Dehydration affects our brains and bodies in so many ways, and keeping hydrated is essential. Drinking water is best, and trying to avoid getting to the point that you feel thirsty means that your brain won't be already feeling the effects of dehydration. And this will help your brain to be in good shape for learning and retaining information. So when we eat a multitude of colorful fruits and vegetables from all the color groups, we're eating some amazing compounds called phytonutrients. Phytonutrients have been shown to have incredible benefits, including helping heart health, fighting cancer cells, reducing inflammation, and reversing brain aging. These phytonutrients have multiple benefits for our physical health, but also for our mental health. They can make such a difference for our brain health that Dr. Leslie Korn calls eating a multitude of colored fruits and vegetables eating the brainbow. Exercise also boosts our mood, helps us to keep fit, and helps our brains, keeping us in top mental shape for revising. Remembering to get some exercise is a great way to have fun and connect with others, especially if you exercise with friends. And it really doesn't matter what type of exercise you do. So don't worry about feeling like you have to run, for example, if you hate running. This will ultimately be demotivating and counterproductive. I was watching a BBC show in which they investigated Zumba versus Tai Chi. And, they're so different, with Zumba being a much more energetic type of cardio exercise, and Tai Chi being much more sort of smooth and calmer. But the benefits from both types of exercise were about equal. So really, at the end of the day, it's about doing some sort of exercise, whatever it is, having fun, boosting your mood, and increasing blood flow to your brain. You'll feel the benefits in so many ways. One tip can be to schedule in time for a small burst of exercise in the middle of your day or during your revision session. This can help you to come back more energized and ready to learn and remember more. So now let's take a look at sleep. When was the last time you slept like a baby? Oxford University scientists have found that we're getting 1 to 2 hours less sleep per night than we were 60 years ago. In an 8-hour sleep cycle, that's up to 25% less sleep per night. This can have a significant effect on people's quality of life. And it can also have a significant effect on your ability to retain information that you're trying to learn. So we'll get to that as we go through sleep. Let's now have a look at what sleep does for us, why in general we're getting less sleep, and what we can do about it. Okay, so now let's look at some of the core functions of sleep and why it's important that we don't view sleep as optional. During sleep, memories are shifted to more efficient and permanent brain regions, making it easier to recall memories and facts. This is important information to know because there can be a tendency to sacrifice sleep in order to have more time for revision. But unfortunately, a lack of sleep can inadvertently make it more difficult to recall the information you need when you need it. So, sort of staying up late in order to revise and not getting the sleep you need is probably not a great way to go about it. You might want to have a look at your scheduling and think, where can I fit this in so that I can still get my full, 7 or 8 hours of sleep or whatever it is that you need. So autophagy is the brain's spring cleaning process. And researchers believe that during sleep, we clean out beta amyloid, which is a protein that accumulates in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. In terms of the immune system, getting good sleep can help us to have better immune system function. I'm sure we can all recall a time when we were worn out and ended up becoming ill. Sleep is an important piece of the puzzle alongside other healthy lifestyle factors such as eating well and getting adequate exercise. And lastly, there's stress. Just like a lack of sleep can have a negative impact on our immune system, it can also make us more vulnerable to stress. This can then become a vicious cycle, as stress can make us less able to sleep, and a lack of sleep can make us more vulnerable to stress. In order to counteract this, we can both address sources of stress in our life and do sleep hygiene practices, such as those discussed in this workshop. Together, they can lead to a greater ability to get into the right frame of mind and body for sleep. So, why do we generally sleep less than people 60 years ago? There are multiple reasons, some having to do with our sleep environment and some of them to do with our current lifestyle. Firstly, we are often surrounded by lights that don't go off at night. You might want to go through your bedroom to audit what is there. Are there lights on your phone when it's on charge? What about your TV, your alarm clock, your internet modem? You're looking for any light that is present in your room when it's dark and you're trying to sleep. Secondly, there's light pollution from street lamps. Street lamps are much brighter than they used to be. I know on my road, we just had some really ultra bright, almost halogen-like lamps installed, and they bleed through curtains and blinds. And, it's just important to be aware of how much light pollution there is where you live and in your bedroom. So these lights often also throw out blue light, which is in the spectrum that tricks our eyes into thinking that it's daytime and time to be awake. This can then disrupt our circadian rhythm and make it more difficult to fall and stay asleep. So most of the things we'll talk about in this section are in fact really simple. The first is to make your sleep environment dark. So this is what we were talking about before. Go through your room, do an inventory of what is staying on at night, if you've got any little LEDs or something like that, and eliminating those. It can also mean installing blackout window coverings, both to block light from the street and also to block early morning light during the spring and summer months. I know that for me, I'm super sensitive to light, so I had to install blackout blinds behind blackout curtains because too much light was still leaking through and I just had one set. So that's been very helpful for me. But of course, a simpler thing to do is just get a really good eye mask. So that can be really helpful as well. When night lights are necessary, try to use red colored night lights. It's a great tip, especially for parents. Light from the red spectrum doesn't keep us awake in the same way that blue light does. If you think about light from fires and candles, so throughout human history, we've kind of adapted to having that type of light at night. It just helps a lot, and many parents report immediate results for their children when they switch to red night lights. Try not to use smartphones or laptops for at least an hour before bed. Again, we're thinking about the blue light in our eyes that can make our brains think it's time to be awake. And the content of what we're looking for is the other thing. So if we're looking at something that's stimulating or anxiety provoking, that's not going to help to get us in the right frame of mind for sleep. So a little life hack here: if you must use your smartphone or tablet before bed, or computer, you can buy blue light blocking glasses. They're not expensive and they really do help. You can just Google them and you'll find lots of options. Some phones also have a setting in which you can reduce or omit blue light. Have a look to see if your phone has this, as it's a quick but really useful hack. You do still have to be aware of the content you're looking at, though. So remember that it's about the light, but it's also about the content. So human beings have evolved as social creatures. And when people are lonely or perceive themselves as being rejected by the group, they respond as if there was a physical stressor in the body, inducing a stress state. The brain reacts as if we were in danger. In his book, The Stress Solution, Dr. Rangan Chatterjee talks about how high social stress is a really big risk factor, even bigger than physical inactivity, alcohol, and smoking put together in terms of chronic disease. And this makes sense if you think about it whilst considering human history. It would have been very dangerous for a person to have been separated from their tribe or group until very recently. It would leave a person vulnerable to predators and at risk of experiencing a lack of food and shelter. Because this would have been seen as such a threat to a person's existence, we can see why feeling lonely, isolated, or socially rejected can trigger a stress response in the body. A large part of well-being is having good relationships, and it can be helpful for us to focus on nurturing our relationships just as we focus on making sure we get enough exercise and eat nourishing food. And feeling a sense of well-being can help to put us in the right frame of mind for preparing for a big event such as the assessment. Interestingly, social media can actually increase feelings of loneliness, especially if it seems like everyone else has more friends or is doing more exciting things than you. People tend to put out a highly curated image on social media, which can lead to the perception that someone's life is more glamorous than it actually is. Being able to be with friends online has been a lifeline during the pandemic, but it's not about shunning social media altogether. Rather, it's about being aware of the effect it's having on you and finding ways to genuinely connect with people online. It's another reason why face-to-face interaction is so important. It allows us to be honest with ourselves and each other, to find safe spaces to open up and have conversations about how our lives are really going, and to seek and offer support if we or others need it. Making time for face-to-face and eye-to-eye interactions is of utmost importance, whether this is in person or online. In an article in which he looks at the research around use of mobile phones, Tim Elmore discusses that there is research showing that merely having a mobile phone nearby can decrease intellectual acuity, which kind of makes sense if you think about, you're doing a task and you're getting distracted by your phone all the time. That could sort of logically decrease your mental acuity. But interestingly, also, that having a mobile with you while you're with someone else decreases interpersonal closeness and trust, as well as reducing feelings of empathy and understanding. So if you think about that, you might think of a time when you were out with a friend and maybe that friend had their phone nearby and they keep getting messages and they're checking them and they're saying, "Oh, do you mind if I just reply to this one?" And you think about how that makes you feel. It doesn't make you feel as connected with that person as you would if you were just together without the phone there. So we all know, especially now, how very important our relationships are to us. Finding ways to genuinely connect with others, both in person and online, can help us to feel happier and make us physically healthier. So at the end of the day, well-being is about connection, connection to our bodies, connection to our feelings, connection to others. Finding ways to connect and nurture our minds, bodies, and relationships can go a long way towards creating a sense of well-being, which can in turn help you to be ready for the assessment. There are more resources available on our website and our Wellbeing Hub. And for more information, you can keep an eye on our website and on social media. I really hope you enjoyed this workshop today. Thank you.